he asked her one time to check and see if he had found out yet. And she had, and she came back the second time. He said, "You mind go checking again?" She said, "No, I'd be happy to." So we were watching her on the phone with the pilot, and she come back and said, "I'm sorry, it's a no." And my heart dropped, Matt's heart dropped, and we kind of looked at each other. And the story we went with between the two of us was, maybe they don't know yet. Maybe she's trying to tell us they haven't found out yet. But the show was over at that point, so we knew that wasn't true, but that's the story we were going with. So we decided to keep that amongst ourselves. And as we were descending, once we got below however many feet you gotta get below, and people's phones started going off, we heard the kids in the back going crazy and celebrating, and a big roar came out of the plane, and then we were officially in. And when we got to the bus, once we landed, the pilot that Matt had talked to came on the bus and said, "I'm so sorry. It was simply a miscommunication. The people that I was talking to on the ground must not have understood what I was getting at, or they must have saw the first team get announced and came back and said, no, you guys didn't get one." So that was 4 months of hard work and excitement and energy. If there was a parachute available at that point, I was putting it on.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, that's right.
Typical of a baseball season, though, so many ups and downs.
Humor's coming into the broadcast. But yeah, it's what an exciting moment. You get on the plane after losing the championship game, and under normal conditions, kids would be so disappointed on that flight home, but it was actually the opposite. Kids were so excited and anxious, and to be in the air when the show goes off was kind of disappointing, but it all ended up working out great.
Were you concerned, having known that maybe they'd get the communication screwed up with the tower to land or anything?
Yeah, I don't know anything about technology, or when they told me there was no Wi-Fi on the plane, I don't even know what that means. So I was just waiting for somebody else to tell me we were in. That's all I was waiting for.
How about the teams you got coming here? You got A&M coming here, you got Duke, Fordham, different styles. Just talk about what you got coming here.
I'm super excited for our community. We've been talking about Big 12 baseball coming to Morgantown for so many years. Well, here comes ACC and SEC baseball. I think it's really cool for the community and the fans to get to see what other high quality, high caliber competition's all about. I'm super excited about our regional.
Just, along those lines, does this maybe help your scheduling down the road? Getting in this game, it's hard to get these games in this part of the country, and you got one. Does that help you?
I hope so. I think this will help on so many levels. I think there's a lot of fans that are going to come and watch us play that maybe have never seen us play or been in our stadium. And there's so many people this year that have come up to me and told me that very thing, that, hey man, this is my first time to the ballpark. I've never seen you guys play before. I'm a fan now, and I think that's what hosting a regional does. It just propels the entire program to the next level and creates excitement that didn't exist for a lot of people.
I think of what happened in Virginia. Similar type thing, got a new ballpark, got a regional there, kind of got it on a roll. Maybe a high state had one. I think that's it in this part of the country, right? It's had a regional.
Yeah, you look back at all of the teams like you mentioned, teams that at one point the administration makes a commitment to the baseball program. That's the first part. And when Virginia did it, all of a sudden, 6 or 7 years later, they're going to the College World Series. When Oregon State did it, they started going to the College World Series. And then Louisville, and then Vanderbilt. Those teams 20 years ago weren't those teams 20 years ago. It took vision by the administration, followed up with facility and resources, and just allowing people to do what they know how to do, just jumpstart the program. And as impatient a person as I am, chronologically speaking, the timing is about right.
6 years?
Yeah, it's, who knew 6 or 7 years ago when I had my first press conference. You know, I think one of the things somebody told me I said was, I hope not to be doing press conferences in June moving forward. I hope to be having practices, and that's what we're going to be doing. So, yeah, I hope this day would come, and hoped it would come sooner. But like I said, realistically speaking, with the timeline and what we've accomplished, and just to have us go to the Big 12 tournament and be as good as, if not better than those other teams that have great traditions in that league. I'm talking about Texas, Oklahoma State, teams that have piled up so many trips to the College World Series, and we're on the same playing field and beating them. And I just can't be prouder of how far this program has come in the last 6 or 7 years.
How tough was it to be playing home games in Charleston and, you know, not having your own locker room and the likes?
It's extremely tough. You know, if you're in a profession where you have to travel a lot, you guys know how tired you get. Go to Vegas one time. You're there 3 days and you're like, man, I love Vegas, but I'm ready to get home. You know, anywhere. You know, our kids are on the road all the time, and they're not laying on the beach like we do on vacation. They're actually out there grinding it out, 100% effort. It's just the fatigue that sets in with what we go through early in the year and the way our kids overcome it. People just, you can't understand how hard that is.
You know, you mentioned the 6 years. That's not even 2 full recruiting classes. So you've hit a lot right in 6 years to get the kids you've got here to get to where you're at.
Yeah, you look at Darius Hill and Zeitel and Pudge, and the older guys in the program were recruited to Holly Field. You know, I remember the very first bullpen Pudge ever caught was down the right field line, Holly Field. And those guys took a leap of faith, man. When we started recruiting those kids, we were selling them on an idea at that point, because the stadium wasn't finished. You know, we're selling them on an idea. Hey, man, you could go to these other schools, and you could go to Texas and be one of 30-some teams that have played in the College World Series, or you could come to West Virginia and do things that have never been done before. And those kids bought in, man. They bought into the commitment that we had as coaches, what the administration had, the vision of the stadium and the conference, and they took a leap of faith. And I think, I don't want to speak for them, but I think it's worked out pretty well for those kids.
Well, you've developed them, but you've got some big name kids too. Manoa was a kid everybody was after, and there's some other guys too, so you've sprinkled some of that in there.
Yeah, you know, it's Miami to Morgantown's a pretty easy transition.
Who doesn't want snow in
Both begin
April?
with M.
That's what he said, yeah.
But, yeah, it's just, you know, that's what you have to sell kids on is the vision of what you're trying to accomplish. It's so exciting, as you can see, talking to the kids now, to do something that's never been accomplished before. I mean, how many opportunities do you ever have in life to ever even do that, let alone to do it on a baseball field when you're having a great time, you know? So, yeah, they bought in, and, you know, all the credit goes to, you know, my assistant coaches and the guys that are out there grinding every day and working hard. And I'm just the guy you guys always want to talk to, but they're the ones out there doing all the work.
But those phone calls are a lot easier for you to make now to those kids. When you're going on that list, you're going a little higher than you were maybe when you started here, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's thousands of kids, high school kids out there right now that just watched that selection show and heard them talking about the Mountaineers hosting a regional, you know, one of the top 16 teams in the country. So, yeah, I think the regional 2 years ago really helped. But now this is 2 regionals in the last 3 years, and 2 Big 12 championship games in the last 4 years. And, you know, if you look at what's been done the last 200 games in college baseball, you can't help but think the Mountaineers are one of the top 25 programs out there.
And the last thing here, you're sitting in a part of the country where there's a lot of good players that have either ACC or SEC, and then you introduce Big 12 to that part of the country. Do you use that a lot to your advantage?
Yeah, you know, I grew up in the state of Pennsylvania, and if you asked me when I was a high school senior who was in the Big 12, I couldn't even have told you, you know.
Go to the Big 8.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're showing your age there. Mr. Richard.
Hell, I went with the Big Six.
For the Southwest, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, the ACC has had such a stronghold on those Pennsylvania and Maryland and Northern Virginia kids for so long. And, you know, all of a sudden, here come the Mountaineers, you know, in the Big 12 and attracting kids from that area and having great recruiting classes. I think we've, in the last couple of years, we've signed the top 2 or 3 arms out of the state of Pennsylvania. And obviously have kids like Manoa out there pitching from Miami, throwing to Pudge, catcher from Round Rock, Texas. If they happen to hit the ball to center field, old Brandon White from Florida's running around there getting it. If he can't catch it, Darius Hill from the Metroplex in Texas runs over and catches it. But that's great. All these kids have something in common, you know, for the most part. They all come a long way from home to go to school, so that helps with the team chemistry that we've built here, that they all have that in common.
So that island helps you a little bit in that you're separated from those other ACC schools that are fighting for each other. Hey, come to the Big 12, you know.
Yeah, you know, it's, the facility sure helped, you know, this is attracting kids in itself, you know, they can walk through here on a recruiting visit and we don't even need to be here, you know, and they're impressed with West Virginia baseball. The fact that we are here and we tell them what our culture is in this program and how we do things, you know, if you had to put a title on a kid's recruiting visit when they come to West Virginia, it would be titled "Who Knew?" You know, because they don't. They don't know what West Virginia baseball is all about until they sit down with the people and talk to everybody and meet the strength coach and the nutritionist. We talk about how we do things and the culture and the chemistry and the work ethic and how well we've done in the classroom, in the community. Can anybody remember any time you read negative press about a West Virginia baseball player? It just doesn't happen. You know, our kids just constantly do the right thing all the time. And I think that feeds on itself, you know, and just people just love the way we do things here.
A lot less explaining, a lot more informing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you have to, because of that sole fact that people don't know, you know. We had a kid here last week and that came, watched us play, and him and his dad came and sat in the front row, and I went over and said hello, and they were like, "Wow, this is unbelievable, this atmosphere." I think they came from the pit game at home. We had a good atmosphere. They said, we had no idea, you know, and that's what most people are like. So my guys go out every summer rounding up great players. We get them here and just show them how we do things, and we've had a lot of success getting really, really good players.
Coach, about a week ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, you talked about maybe moving the college baseball season to the summer. Do you think the regional here is kind of, could be an example of how that could work up in the north? Because a lot of people are going to come here.
Were you the one who asked me that question in the press conference that day?
I don't think so.
Whoever it was, I got some 300-some-thousand re-votes or tweets or whatever, likes, or I don't know what they're calling.
You're popular, Randy.
That's what they tell me. But one of these days I'll learn how to do Twitter, I guess. But yeah, it's you know, you look at the sites out there, and they got one up in Corvallis, which geographically I guess is a little more northern than Morgantown is. But yeah, I mean, you look around, 3 teams from Nebraska got in. 3 teams from Connecticut got in, and that's encouraging to me that northern schools are serious about baseball. And yeah, I'll take that to my grave that we should be playing this in the summertime. And yeah, look at the crowds that we're going to get this weekend. And you know, one of the things that everybody says why you can't do it is because, well, the kids are out of school and you won't be able to draw crowds. But kids are out of school now, and I think we're going to have pretty good crowds this weekend.
Randy, when you describe your style of running a program and managing, like some of your kids say you're always there for them when they need them, and you have a way of, they can pick up the phone and call you if there's something wrong. But also, I mean, you've got your son involved. I mean, your wife, your daughter, your family. I mean, it's a lot different than most programs.
Well, you know, we tell these kids in this theater especially that we're standing in, when you walk through the door of that theater, you just become a member of our family. And we tell them that when we recruit them. And, you know, with members of your family, you go through adversity sometimes, and you stick with them. You love them unconditionally, and you help them when they need help, and you kick them in the butt when they need kicked in the butt. But I have a relationship with these kids for 3 or 4 years while they're here, but I need them to know, and I want them to know that my relationship with them is going to go on, you know, which I do. I have relationships with kids that I've coached 20 and 30 years ago that are going to come and see the Mountaineers playing this regional. I really believe that this world is about relationships, and it's not about Alec Manoa showing me how many games he can win. It's about him growing as a kid and maturing, and how far he's come in the past 3 years, and how far he's getting ready to go. And I can't wait to meet his family one day when he has kids. And that's just the way I've always done things. I believe way more in relationships than I do your ability to field a backhand or hit a curveball. You know, you'll need those skills for the next 3 years if you're lucky. But being a good teammate and a good person and knowing how to do things the right way, being a good husband and a good father, those are the skills you need the rest of your life. So we spend more time teaching those skills than we do the baseball skills.
Curious, you had a team in '04 that won 50 games and made a super regional. Are there any similarities you see between this team and that team you had?
Say 04?
2004, yeah.
And what year is this? That's
19,
15
yeah.
years ago?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to remember what I did yesterday, but 15 years ago. That was a good team. We won 50 games that year and played in the Super Regional at South Carolina. But this team's different, I think. This team is, you know, you've got Manoa and Snyder out there that I think have won 16 games between the two of them. Those guys have, if you're going to have great years like that, you've got to have guys like that. And that team hit 100 home runs that year. Our team's not built that way. It's more of a speed team, and opportunistic team. We got to take advantage of all the opportunities we get. Just the last 2 games we played, we scored 2 runs in both games. One of them we won 2-0, and the other one we lost. So we don't pile up 10 runs a game, but our guys, the leaders and the older kids know that if you go 1 for 4, make that one a big one and drive 2 runs in, and we've been able to do that.
You mentioned the home runs. That's the way the game was played back then. Everybody was hitting home runs at that time.
Yeah, that was the old bats
Yeah.
and gorilla ball.
Yeah.
You know, teams were hitting a ton of homers. So, and we have speed on our team. You know, we still have a chance to steal 100 bases this year as a team, which is probably harder to do than it is to hit 100 home runs. So, and it's fun to coach that way, and it changes the way people play against you when they know you have that kind of speed. You know, even in yesterday's game, we load the bases with nobody out, with 2 bunts and guys that can run. And, so yeah, this is a really fun team to coach.
When you look at elite teams, you often see athletes in the field that run down balls and power arms. And you've got that on this team this year, those 2 aspects.
Yeah, no doubt. We've pitched really well this year. I think we lead the Big 12 in pitching. And the only guy to get the credit for that is Pudge, because our catching philosophy here is it's your job to make sure the pitcher throws well that day. And Pudge does that. You know, and if you go watch a pitcher pitch when you're recruiting him and he has 2 outings, 1 good one and 1 bad one, recruit the catcher that caught the good one, you know, because they control how kids pitch more so than anybody. And he's been unbelievable for 4 years at doing that, and the way he throws out runners and, you know, the way he catches. And if they hit a ball before it gets to Pudge and it goes in the direction of center field, Brandon White is a game changer. That guy has saved us multiple runs, multiple games. He's as good a center fielder as I've ever coached. So right up the middle, pitching, catching, and those guys in the middle of the field, you know, between Tucker and Dones up the middle, it's a really special group right up the middle.
And you're calling the pitches. You're right involved in that again. You like that aspect, being pitch to pitch again, managing
Hold
it?
that for you. Yeah, that keeps me in the game. You know, I don't wanna be a cheerleader, and just sit there and watch. I wanna, I don't feel like I do much to help us win or lose, but I like to try, you know? It's more fun to try, you know, so, and that came from, I was a two-way player when I played, and, you know, then I became a pitching coach for a while, and just get so bored at practice, just working with the pitchers, just working with the hitters, because I'm used to doing everything. And it's really affected me not to be able to coach third base and do the things I used to be able to do, and throw batting practice and hit fun nose and stuff. So that's about the only way I can stay in the game these days.
Now that you can look back with fondness, what were the chief limitations you had at Hawley Field, and how much has this facility changed everything?
Who says I'm looking back with fun? No, Hawley Field was awesome. What a great article I just read about the 1955 team that hosted the Wake Forest series. The last time a quote-unquote regional was played in Morgantown. I just read the article a minute ago of some of the old-time players that played on that team. Eisenhower was president at that time. Bob, you know what I'm talking about.
I
over there.
certainly do.
He liked Ike.
I voted for him.
But one of the all-time greatest baseball names in the history of baseball was in that article. The center fielder on the West Virginia 1955 team's name was Jack Rabbits. How about that for a center fielder? And what a great player he was. But just to read the old nostalgia of Hawley Field and some of those players that are still excited about what we're doing today just shows you how far this has come. But Hawley Field was great, man. I love Hawley Field. I love the atmosphere we had there, the energy in that place. The setting was beautiful. You got the Coliseum in the background. It's a shame that we were so landlocked back there that we couldn't have put this stadium there, because you want your stadium to be as close to campus as you can. So, yeah, without Hawley Field and the hundreds, thousands of guys that have played here on Hawley Field and dressed out of their trunks of their cars and didn't have a locker, without those guys, we're not here, you know.
Ask you, when you handed a lineup card and Augie was out there, and you brought Texas in here to play at Hawley Field, what did he tell you?
You know, I just wanted to watch his reaction. When you get off the bus in the parking lot, you can't see the field till you walk around the left field corner. So I just wanted to see him walk around the corner. And when he walked around the corner and looked, he hesitated, like he was thinking about getting back on the bus. But no, he came out there, and I mean, that was great. We had great crowds back then. I think we had 2,500 in there for the Texas series when we played there, and you know, that was awesome. That's to have, you know, Carol Ramsberg come out there and her family and throw out the first pitch that weekend was special for them, and how much he meant to the program and all the guys that have played here, and just special times. They're all starting to come to the forefront now, just because we're hosting a regional. People don't understand the impact that hosting a regional does for the entire community and state and alumni base. It's just, hopefully this will change the face of our program.
How about Augie having to share the bathroom with Tommy digging out back behind the dugout there?
Yeah, my favorite part of Hawley Field was, you know, when I had to use the restroom in the fourth inning, you stood in line with the rest of them.
That's right.
You know, that's when the fans were asking me why I bunted and why I put this guy in the bench while I was waiting my turn, you know.
It's a
So.
rare opportunity.
Did you say, hey, I got to get back out there, we're hitting?
That's right. So, I mean, we do a lot better when I'm standing in the bathroom anyway. But,
Got to change the bunt
Oh.
sign.
yeah, for a little while. But no, those are all the fun memories you're talking about.
What was the vibe like in the room when you see West Virginia pop up on the screen and the guys' reaction and stuff like that? And what'd you say to them after?
It was a little different because we knew we were in. You know, the reaction today was more about who we're going to play than it was whether we're going to get in. And this is the first time, I think, in my career that I didn't find out last night what was going to be on the selection show. And I did that because I knew we were hosting. I didn't want to know who we were playing. I wanted to be surprised knowing the guys. So when Ohio State got sent off. I was like, man, I thought we were getting the Buckeyes. And then Central Connecticut got sent off, and Army got sent off, and Quinnipiac got sent
Michigan.
off. Yeah, I thought, man, there goes all the teams I thought we were getting, So, Duke and A&M and Fordham. In 1987, when I was a player, we hosted a regional under the old format. In 1987, when I was playing at Clemson, there were 8 6-team regionals. There was a 48-team field, and 8 regional winners advanced to the World Series. We were the number 1 seed at Clemson, and we opened with Fordham, who was the 6th seed. And Stanford and Mike Mussino was in that regional, and we played Fordham 19 innings and used 8 pitchers on day 1, and really cost us an opportunity to win that regional. So I know what Fordham's capable of doing, and I want to make sure that our guys aren't looking ahead to who we might play second or who we're matched up with in a super regional if we win. This regional is all about playing Fordham at this point.
Speaking of, how's the rotation gonna set up?
We're going to throw Nick Snyder in the first game. We put him out there yesterday in the championship game in a limited amount of pitches in order to get him ready for Friday. He's been so good for us all year long, and has been, pretty much dominant every time out. So I think he gives us a really good opportunity to win no matter who we're playing. So we'll roll Snyder out there, and AK will probably pitch game 2.
And in all seriousness, do you think you can continue to sort of build off this to create the culture where maybe the people on the ground know exactly what's going on with you guys?
I hope so. I think the more people that learn about West Virginia baseball are going to be exactly what you said, impressed with the culture and the way we do things. And, when we go to Oklahoma City every year and play in that tournament, it never fails that people come up to me and say, Coach, I love watching you guys play. I love the way you do things. You do it the right way. Really rooting for you guys. And I think the more people who get exposed to us are going to feel that same way. I don't know how anybody could feel any differently about West Virginia baseball than impressed with how our kids are, or how our culture is, or this would be a great place to send your child to play for 3 or 4 years, because they're well taken care of. They're going to develop as players and as people. We talk about teaching them how to be good people and husbands and fathers, but hey, oh, by the way, we're going to have 6 or 7 kids drafted off this club that have never been drafted before. So we're developing players at a very high rate too. Just look at, Alec Manoah and what he's facing coming up here a week from today, I guess, is day 1 of the draft. So that guy was undrafted out of high school. Comes in here and develops, does it the right way, and just matures, becomes a tremendous leader, great teammate, and oh, by the way, just turns into an unbelievable pitcher and is going to have a really good day 7 days from now, I think.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.